So quick about us, we are dbrown consulting. We do training, consulting, and payroll. The training bit is we do lots of stuff for the analyst. So analyst being whoever is a data analyst, reporting analyst, financial analyst, any kind of analyst, HR analyst, sales analyst. As long as you have analyst in your name, we have something for you. And later on, I'm going to talk about a brand new certification. I don't know if some of you already know it. It's called the Financial Modeling Institute. I think is a game changer certification on giving you 3 levels: chartered, advanced financial modeler, chartered financial modeler, and master financial modeler. We'll talk about that later. I think it's a cool certification that has just come to Nigeria. So it's available in Nigeria. You do the exam and you get the certification. Anyway, we'll talk about that. Yes, so that's us. The people that we affiliate with are the Financial Modeling Institute, who give those certifications. And then also Microsoft, we're also Microsoft partners, and then we're also partners to ATD, Association for Talent Development. So you have the financial modeling, Microsoft, and ATD. And these really are the 3 webinars we do every month. We do financial modeling webinar, which actually starts a couple of hours after this one. Then we have Excel. Of course, this is Excel and Power BI that we do a lot of, so we do that. That's Microsoft. And then we also have a talent development webinar. If you're interested in that, that starts at 2 o'clock. Today's topic is going to be micro learning. So those are things we do. And these are some of the courses we offer. I know some of us here, I can see some people here already know that they've attended 1 or 2 courses, so that's excellent. So these are courses we offer in business intelligence, Excel, financial analysis, Office 365, and financial modeling. So give a shout out if any of you here have attended a course. You could type it out in the chat. Right, so this is what we're going to do today. We're going to do a demo of Power Query in Excel. Power Query in Excel and Query Editor in Power BI. So, quick shout out. How many of us here have used Power Query? Just say yes or no. Or in fact, let me even send you guys a tiny poll. Let's just use a poll. Let me send you. So I'm asking you a question on the poll. So if you'll see a poll currently, I want you guys to vote on the poll. I'm asking, what modern Excel tool do you use regularly? What modern Excel tool do you use regularly? You can see none of the above is quite a lot. And then we have, okay, about 30% using Power Pivot. Okay, Power Query, Power Query, Power View, nobody's heard of Power View, Power Maps, nobody really has heard of Power Maps. That's the funny thing about this stuff. Let me go to a blank Excel. Let me just give you guys a quick rundown of just a blank Excel screen so you can see how modern Excel is currently. So I'm just opening a blank Excel screen. I'm going to share that screen with you guys now. Whoever is having any technical difficulties, please put your hands up. You can speak. Now, if you put your hand up, that's a speak request. You see a hand too. If you just put that up, that means you want to speak or something, and then I can release your mic and then you can speak, right? We can hear you. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll now. Poll ended at Power Pivot. About 29% of us use Power Pivot, 7% use Power Query. Nobody has seen Power View. Nobody knows Power Maps. And none of the above. About 64% of us don't use any of these power tools. So 6% of us don't use these power tools. All right, so let's have a look here. Let me take you to Excel. I will just share my screen. So everybody here will be looking at my screen. My screen is Excel 20. In fact, this Excel Office 365 is what I use currently. Office 365. Let me show you. Let me show you how you know what it is you are using. Let me end the poll first. Okay. Hope you can all see. Okay. Chinyere said, I know Power Maps and Query, but have not used it. All right, that's good. You know of it, so that's fine. Okay. I'm not able to log in, Bernard. But if you're not able to log in, how are you typing in the chat? So Bernard, if you have any issues, let me know. Let me see if we can invite you. So Bernard, if you can put your hand, you click on, there's a button next to your name. If you click on it, you see various options. Then you can ask to talk. So I'm surprised you're not able to connect, Bernard, but you're also able to chat. That's strange. Anyway, anybody else having that issue, please type out in the chat. Meanwhile, I would like to go to Excel. So if I'm in Excel right now, if you want to know the version of Excel you are using, you go to File, Account. So you go to File, Account. Once you go to File, Account, so once you click on Account, you'll see to the right. So for me, I'm using Microsoft Office 365 Pro Plus. Now, it's very important. If you're using Office 365, anything you see Office 365, that means that you're getting updates on Excel every single month. In fact, sometimes twice a month. So I want you guys to all check. Let's open Excel and tell me what version of Excel you're using, and just type it in the chat. I know some of us will not answer, but at least let some that answer. Let's type it in the chat. Tell me what version of Excel you're using currently. All right, great. So everybody, I've seen people's comments. I can see some other people have sent me private chats. I want you to send a public chat so that everybody can see it. So not private chat. So Microsoft Office Standard 2013. Now, if you look at my screen, I don't know how clear it is, as my resolution may be a little bit small, but you see Microsoft Office Pro, Office 365. And I really advise that you advise your company to move to Office 365 because it is so much more powerful. Now, if you look at my version is 1708. Somebody else is having Office 365 Pro Plus. Can you tell me your version? That's Olawale or Joe. Tell me your version, because the version means the updates. You know, I said every 2 weeks or every month, Microsoft Excel team updates Excel. So when they update Excel, because you have Office 365, you see the update immediately. Let me give you another thing. Look at Excel. If I go to Excel, there's one new function, for example. Let me see. Many of us haven't heard of it. I don't think text join. So check out text join. How many of us can see a function called text join? I want you to type equals to into Excel and then just type text and see if you see text join. Text join is a new function. It's called concatenate a list of range or text string using a delimiter. So these are the kind of things you get if you're using Office 365. You get the latest updates, the latest functions. Excel has more than 450 functions, and you get all the latest stuff. Very important. So next thing I want you to do is we want to show you there's some power tools that people don't know of. So to get your power tools, you go to File, you go to Options, you go to Options. Once you go to Options, you go to your add-ins. Under add-ins, you see the add-ins to the right, and you click on the Go tool, the Go. Can everybody see what I'm doing? I hope. Some people usually have problems with this. Can you confirm you're seeing what's on my screen? So Ogu says it doesn't have text join, you see? So that means obviously you're using probably 2013, right? Ogu, Daniel, which version are you using? Okay, anyway, so let's move on. So I click on Go. If I click on Go, you'll see that I have analysis toolpack, VBA. I have Euro currency tool, power, people utility, solver add-in. Now these are the old add-ins. These are like, how I call it, the add-ins that you bring in a different application into Excel. Now the add-ins that have all your power tools. If I go back to Excel options, the add-ins that have all your power tools are called COM add-ins. So right down at the bottom, when you go to Excel options and go to add-ins, if you go right there at the bottom, and then under the bottom here, you see Excel add-ins, change it to COM add-ins, then click on Go. When you click on Go, you see all sorts of tools. I have Inquire, for example. I have Microsoft Power Maps for Excel, Microsoft Power Pivot for Excel, Microsoft Power View for Excel. I have an RMS add-in, which is for security, OLAP pivot table extension, blah, blah, blah. So these are your power add-ins. So if I click on Power Maps, if I click on Power View, Power Pivot, Power View, and click all those ones and say, okay. Now, if you have Excel 2013, Power Query is a free download from Microsoft. But if you have 2016, Power Query is already inserted inside data. So what I'm going to do for you guys right now is I had a webinar recently where I showed Power Query and how you use Power Query to consolidate data for text. So I'm going to show you that right now, and then we're going to come back and do a demo of how you clean up bad data. But here, the data is not really bad. I'm just showing you a video of how you consolidate data. So just watch this video. It's a Power Query, how to consolidate multiple text. So watch this video. We'll come back in the next 5 minutes. All right. And I want you to just take notes of everything, write it down, and then on the chat, type all about it on the chat as well. So we'll be chatting on chat while you're watching this video. Now I'm going to show you how to consolidate lots and lots of data. Let's assume you have Excel files from 2010 to date, monthly Excel files from 2010 to date, or monthly data from 2010 to date. You want to consolidate it. That's the next thing we're going to do. So for example, now what I want to do now is I'm going to pull data from a database. Now how we should work normally, let me just show you one folder here. How the best practice for working is when you get data from SAP, let's assume SAP or your database administrator sends you data every week or every month. Stop saving it in Excel. Don't save the data in Excel. Ask your administrator that please make sure you send me this data in a flat file format. And what I mean by that is a format that follows the 7 rules. Those 7 rules I shared. And then tell him to give you as a text file. So once he gives you as a text file, drop all those text files into a folder. So if you look at this folder I have here, I have April, and this April, I've just opened this April data so you see what it is. This is the April data. It's a text file. So we've downloaded from our software. We have a text file, and these are the fields inside the text file. Region, market, trade date, fiscal period, model, line of business, days in period, blah, blah, blah. This is your text file, right? That is text file for April, then for May, then for June, then for July. And we're in the month of November now, right? So if November comes along, download that text file, dump it in here. Once you dump it in here, we're now going to use Power Query to automate the consolidation process. So Power Query will automate the consolidation process and give Excel an up-to-date database. And that database will be live. It will be live. It will continue to kind of grow automatically. And because it's growing automatically, your report is updated automatically. So we're going to demo that right now. So let me just quickly demo that. Let me create a new Excel workbook. And I said we need 3 sheets. What we want to do is use Power Query to connect to that folder that contains all our data.
And anytime we have new data, we're going to be dropping it into that folder, and Power Query will update automatically. So that's the trick. So when I go to data, I'm going to go to a new query. Now, this is 2016's Power Query. In 2013, you have a tab called Power Query. It does exactly the same thing. But in 2016, they added it into Excel directly. So new query, I'll go to from file, and then I'll go to from folder. Can you see all the ways you can connect to Power Query?
Yes.
From databases, from Azure. Azure is the cloud, Microsoft Cloud. From other sources, Dynamics CRM, all sorts of sources. Combine queries together. There are plenty sources. So I'm just going to go to from file and then from folder. So once I get to from folder, I now need to navigate to where that folder I showed you is. Okay, so let me quickly navigate to where it is. Somewhere hidden on my system. Let me quickly navigate. Okay, resources, Power Query demo. Oh, all right. So I've navigated. This is where I have it. Our Power Query demo, all actual data. All right. So this is me. This is the folder. Click OK. So this is the path to the folder, and I say OK. So what Power Query is doing right now is connecting to that folder. Once it connects to that folder, it brings this dialog box up. It says, OK, I've connected to the folder. These are all the things in that folder. Now, you could have 100 files in this folder. But guess what? How we currently work, or most people currently work, is these will be sheets. These will be sheets in an Excel workbook. It will be Jan, Feb, March. That is the wrongest way to work. That is so inefficient, because now when someone wants to do same period last year analysis, you have to copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, and you tell your boss it will take you 4 hours when it should take 10 seconds. Okay. Anyway, so this is your data. So you tell Power Query, let's edit this data.
Okay.
So Power Query application is opening now. Again, guys, this is a free tool from Microsoft. It's completely free. So now you have your familiar Power Query. Now the trick is this. All of this data that we have, I want to combine it into one single table that follows my 7 rules. Do we get it?
Okay.
Yeah? So the key thing is this. If you look at this, think about your data. Your April data will have a heading and then the data, isn't it?
Yes.
Your May data will also have a heading and the data. So if I'm combining it, if you think about it, that means I'm going to combine plenty headings, which is not very good, because everything is going to be stacked on top of each other. So we just have to note that, so that when we're cleaning our data, we know to remove duplicated headings.
Okay.
So if you're combining from a folder, you see this button here. This button is the magic button that combines. So this tiny button here, I just double click it. I double click it, and it combines all my data. That's how easy it is. So what this has done, it has gone to that folder and combined all the 100 text files I have, combined all of them, right?
Okay.
And here we have it, here. Now, the only thing I need to now do is to ensure that my data is all nice and clean. So, for example, under region, if I click on the drop down for region, I'm going to click on load more so that I can see all the fields in region. Once I click load more, you'll see something that is foreign there. What is foreign?
Region.
Exactly. So I have to, that is the repeated headings. So I have to untick it and say, okay, so this is me doing a Power Query. See, I'm cleaning my data. And guess what? I just need to clean this once. Next month, when I have new data, all I need to do is dump it into that folder and everything works automatically. That's how powerful this is. Thanks for watching another training video from dbrown Consulting. See you in the next video.
Great. So guys, so if you can type in the chat, what did you learn from that video? Could you just type your comments in the video on what did you learn? No sound for Solomon. Wow, you should have complained long. Should have complained and then no sound. That means you really didn't learn much. You didn't hear it. Wow. Anybody else have any issues? Yeah, so Chinyere, yeah, you said this video is similar to what happens in Power BI. Exactly the same. The technology is exactly the same technology. It's exactly the same technology. In fact, I would like to bring in Ahmed, if Ahmed is here now, so we could actually have a chat about it. So that's really what the point of this webinar, even to show you that these two technologies are the same. What Microsoft did is all the technology was learned, or they learned about they kind of developed the technology on Excel. And once they developed it on Excel, they developed Power Pivot on Excel, which Power Pivot is the same thing Power BI is called the data model in Power BI. They developed Power Query on Excel, and Power Query is also in Power Query. It's called Query Editor in Power BI. Yeah, and then they also develop Power View, Power Maps. Power View and Power Maps have some visualizations on Excel. Those are visualizations in Power BI as well. So all these technologies are so powerful, and it's all in Excel right now. So you can analyze 1 billion transactions in Excel, and people don't know that. Okay. All right, so let's move on. So there are 6 steps to cutting hours of work to minutes using Power Query in Excel. Really 6 steps for doing that. And okay, so now let's see. Okay, give me a second. Okay, I was trying to get guest speaker activated. I don't know if he is. Let's see if he is. Okay. All right, so 6 steps really. And the very first step is assess your data according to the 7 golden rules. And I know someone just asked, what is the 7 golden rules? So if I look at data, let's just see your data. I'm going to put up some data now and look at our demo data that we want to look at. Let's assess what exactly do we mean by the 7 golden rules. Who remembers them? I'm sure some people here have already heard about these rules that we keep talking about in our trainings. Anybody? Type 1 rule at least before I continue. 1 rule. If you just type 1 rule in the chat. Okay, so Chinere remembers some. Type 1 for us. So I'll take it to Excel. I'm going to take it to some bad data in Excel so that you can understand it. So I'm showing you some sample data. Okay, so no empty columns, no empty rows. Excellent. So those are the rules, really. So I'll start with saying, okay, there should be only 1 row of headings, only 1 row of headings. So if you look at it, only 1 row of headings. Here we have how many rows of headings? Can you guys type in the chat? How many rows of headings do you see? Yeah, only 3 rows of headings. Yeah, just only 3 rows of heading, 3 rows of headings, which is really not good at all. This is very bad data. You should have only 1 row of headings. Let me see maybe better data. Let's see if I can go to another sheet that has data. Yeah, well, nope. Store data. Okay, look at this. Look at this table. This table has only 1 row of headings, correct. Then also you shouldn't have empty rows in your data. For example, I've just created some empty rows here. This is bad practice. You shouldn't have empty rows in your data. Now, empty rows is different from empty cells. If I have empty cells, that's fine. This is empty cells. It just means that I'm not going to be able to analyze my data properly. It's not really smart data at all, but it's not an empty row completely. That's not allowed. Then also, you shouldn't have empty columns. So it's just like having empty rows, you also have empty columns. You shouldn't have empty columns in your data. So that's 3 rules. Someone should type the 4th. I know we have some people that have done that. I've said no 1 row of headings, no empty rows, no empty columns. Yes. Okay, people are shy. Okay, so no empty rows, no empty columns, 1 row of headings. Then every unique data must have its own column. Now, every unique data must have its own column. Let me show you the bad data so that will make sense. So if you look at this bad data here, every unique data doesn't have its own column. For example, look at store. Store is a unique data. That means some of the data have different stores. So here I have a store. So I have a store called Abadam. I guess that's a local government somewhere. We have 700 and something local government. Another store called Abaji. So you can see what we need is a column that has store name, and then we have Abadam, Abaji, or whatever their name is in 1 column. So every single column must have unique data. Another unique data that doesn't have its own column is line of business. So you can see line of business, copier, sales, parts, printer sales, service plan. They should have a column where you have line of business as a separate column. Another separate column should be model. You have all these models. They shouldn't be in a row. It should be in a column. So every column, this column A, the unique data in column A is date. So column A just has dates. I should have another column called for store. I should have another column for line of business. I should have another column for model. Then I have my amounts. Because currently I have my amounts in here. So this looks like a report format. A report format is completely different from a data format. Yeah, completely different. They're 2 completely different things. Now, as I can see that some people haven't seen Power BI or Power BI Desktop. What I'll show you up here is let me just show you Power Pivot. You can see Power Pivot. I told you those are one of the Power tools. Power Pivot, there's Power Query. Now, because I'm using the latest Excel, you won't see my Power Query up here. My Power Query is under, if I go to data, there is a section called Get and Transform. That's this section here, Get and Transform. That is Power Query. Get and Transform is Power Query. It's a new name for Power Query. Yeah. So if you have 2013 Excel or 2010 Excel, you can download Power Query free from Microsoft. But this is Power Query. Yeah, Get and Transform. Now downloaded Power View and Power Maps. I've activated those buttons. I'll have Power View and Power Maps. But the thing about Power View and Power Maps, what I advise people is, if you want to do really beautiful visualizations, go and use Power BI Desktop. But then you want to do your normal reporting with your normal charts and everything, it's fine to use Excel. All the technology is there, but use Power BI Desktop. Now, Power BI Desktop have updates. Every single month, they do updates. I told you that Excel every 2 weeks or every month, we have updates to Excel if you're using Office 365. Again, for Power BI Desktop has updates every single month. Let me open Power BI Desktop. Let me see if I have an empty version of it. So this is Power BI Desktop. If you can see it on the screen, can everybody see it? I have my home, my view, my model, and help. And Power BI Desktop, as I said, it's all the technology in Excel is in Power BI Desktop. The only difference is Power BI Desktop doesn't work with cells. It works with a canvas. This is a canvas, and you bring in visualizations, but you have to build your data. So you have to build a data model and stuff. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you the update. There's going to be updates. There's a brand new update for March. Every single month they do updates. And there's one very, very cool update they've done in March. So part of the Microsoft team, people in Microsoft, they're really working hard. I want to show you a quick video of what the best update or the best new feature they've added to Power BI. So the best new feature, as far as I'm concerned, that they've added to Power BI Desktop. Once we do that, we're going to start the demo. So I want to go through this quick section on that new feature that they're putting into Power BI. It's called the tooltip. It's something called a tooltip. When you hover over a chart in Power BI, it will give you a tip about certain other things about that bar or line chart or whatever you're hovering over. So they've given you the power to manage that yourself. Very cool. So just watch this from Microsoft. This is directly from Microsoft, the team in Microsoft. So have a quick look.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the March 2018 update of the Power BI Desktop. As always, we have lots of exciting features to walk you through today, and we will of course start with the reporting features. Our biggest announcement for this month is that we are now previewing a feature that we're calling Report Page Tooltips. And this feature is all around being able to completely customize what you're seeing in your tooltip, including being able to add as many visuals as you want that you will then see on Hover with, of course, all of the filter context flowing through to that tooltip. So let me walk you through how to use this feature. So like I said, this feature is a preview, so the first thing you're going to have to do is go turn it on under File, Options and Settings, Options, and then under the preview features, you'll see an option for Report Page Tooltips. And so once you've turned the preview feature on, what you're going to want to do is you're going to first design what you want your tooltip to look like. I've already pre-done that with two different tooltips right here. And whenever you're designing these tooltips, we recommend that you pick something small since in terms of report page size, since it's meant to be used as a tooltip. And to help with that, in the page size card of the formatting pane, we're giving you a new tooltip size option to use. You don't have to use it though. You can use any of the predefined page sizes, including a custom size that you configure, but we do give you a good starting place with our tooltip size page. We also recommend, as you are setting up your tooltips, to go to the View tab and make sure that you're viewing your page as actual size. Otherwise, if you're using fit to page, for example, with this small page size, it will look massive and everything will be blown up. It's harder to design that way, so we recommend just making sure your page view is switched over to actual size. Once you've designed what you want your tooltip to look like, the next thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to let us know that this is a tooltip page. To do that, you can go under Page Information, and right next to the Q&A toggle that we have, there's also a tooltip toggle. So you're going to want to turn that on. And so I'll do that for both of my tooltips. And now you're going to want to assign this tooltip to charts, so that we can know which charts you want this tooltip to show for on Hover. Now there's two ways that you can link a tooltip to a chart, and both are useful for different scenarios. So the first one I'm going to talk about is similar to your experience you have right now for drill through, where you're tying this page to a field. And so the idea is that you could put in any field, category, measure, numeric column, and anywhere that field is being used in your report, this tooltip will show up. So, for example, I want this tooltip to show up anywhere I'm using sales amount in my report. So I'm going to drag it over to this tooltip fields bucket. And this bucket is going to show up only whenever you have that toggle on. So you won't see it until you go and turn that tooltip page toggle on in the formatting pane. Once you do that, you can drag your field into here like I did. And now whenever I go to my overview page, where I have lots of charts using sales amount, I can just hover over a bar and my page shows up. And so you can see both this chart and this bar chart here are both using that same tooltip because they both are using sales amount in the chart. So this is a really convenient way to set up one tooltip and have it automatically being applied everywhere in your report with just one simple drag of a field. And like I said, it's very similar to drill through, so you'll want to use it in cases where you designed this report for a category you want to see everywhere or a measure that you're using frequently in all your charts, like this is my tooltip for sales, like I did. The other way that you can assign a tooltip to a chart is by manually assigning it. So for example, I designed this tooltip to be used specifically for this scatter chart. I wanted this tooltip to have both the brand and category or the brand and class information, and then some extra stuff specifically for that scatter chart. And so instead of using the tooltip fields bucket, I'm not going to drop anything in there. I'm going to go over to the chart that I want to use it for, and in the formatting pane, you'll see that we now have this tooltip bucket. Whenever I open this, you can see that I can do a couple of things. One, I can change it from this auto default experience that we have, and that's what enables that automatic tie a field to the chart that I just demonstrated, is this auto setting. Instead, I can assign a specific page. And in this drop-down, I'll see all of the tooltip pages that I have within my report. And so I'll pick the brand and class tooltip. And now whenever I hover over this chart, I see that tooltip that I had designed. And so this is really useful when you design a tooltip for a very specific purpose. These tooltips, whenever you're hovering over in the chart, obviously just like our default tooltips, all of the filter context is going to be flowing through into this tooltip that you are seeing. So for example, whenever I'm hovering over this bar, and I am, let's say, cross-highlighting by deluxe here, you can see when I'm hovering over this bar that my tooltip is taking in that deluxe cross-highlight as well. So you can see both the cross-highlighted value in the chart through my data label and the sales amount in the tooltip itself are matching because they both are taking in that filter. So all of the slicers, all of the filters, all the cross-highlighting, all the filter context that's affecting the data that you see in this bar, that is being flowed through to the tooltip page as well, just like our default tooltips have all of that filter context taken in. Another thing you can do in this tooltip card is that if you say you're using that automatic linking and you want it to happen in most of your charts, but there's just one where it doesn't make sense, and you want to go back to the default Power BI tooltip, we do let you turn report page tooltips off through this toggle, and you will automatically go back even if there is a tooltip that could potentially be used, a report page tooltip. We will still force ourselves back to the Power BI's default tooltip if you change this toggle to off. As I mentioned, report page tooltips are in preview, so there are some things you should be aware of. The main one is the fact that right now, report page tooltips do not work in embedded scenarios. So you're going to embed your report in an app or in or use published web. You will not get the report page tooltips. Instead, we're gonna fall back to the default Power BI tooltips. If you do want to use our report page tooltips and still publish to web, you can still take advantage of, even though you are using a report page for your tooltip, you can still drag other things into this bucket. And while you won't see them when we're using the report page tooltip, of course, because where would we show them? Whenever we fall back to the default tooltip in the embedded environments, those fields will still be used. So you can design both the default tooltip that we use embedded and in your report page tooltip that would be used in desktop and service. Mobile, if you are using mobile reports, we also won't be showing the report page tooltips there. We'll be falling back to the default Power BI tooltip. Make sure for this feature to read our documentation so that you can be aware of any other limitations that exist during our preview period as well. So make sure to give this feature a try. We're really excited about it, and we think it's going to be a really powerful feature that will let you do a lot of really cool things just on hover of your report. And make sure to give us any feedback you have while we're in preview period. Back in October, we released a preview of our bookmarking feature. Bookmarking is all around being able to save an interesting state of your report for
Great, so we're back. What do you guys think of that, as in this new feature in March? This new feature just came out like a couple of weeks ago, or a week ago. What do you think of that? Hello guys, so you can type on the chat, what did you think of that new feature for Microsoft Power BI Desktop, and then the Power BI service? Hello guys, everybody's quiet on me. What's happening? So for those that currently use Power BI Desktop, please download the latest version. For those that don't, let me share my screen. Just go to powerbi.com, and then you can get access to Power BI. Just get access to it. Right, so I would like Ahmed. Ahmed, if you can check, is your mic working now? Ahmed will share his screen, and he's going to take us through some quick steps on how you clean dirty data in Power Query. Ahmed, are you there? Okay, we're trying to see. Ahmed can hear me.
Hello, David. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Can everybody else hear Ahmed? Welcome, Ahmed. Maybe there's a small echo coming out.
David.
So if you can quickly introduce yourself to us, and then also the demo. I know if you.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you hear me? I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, I think.
If you can hear me, please type yes. Type yes in the chat to indicate that you can hear me so I can continue. Okay. Emmanuel can hear me. Tosi can hear me. So I think I should just continue right now. Okay. So David has said a lot about Power Query, and right now we are just going to dive in straight into the action. He has shown us the data that we have, which is a very, very bad data. And we're going to show you how you clean that data in Excel first. And then we translate that same steps that we're going to be using in Excel to clean the data using Power Query, right? And you will realize that when you use Excel to clean the data, it's going to be a little bit tedious, unlike when you use Power Query to clean the data, okay? So I'm going to share my screen now, and I want you to let me know if you can see what I'm putting up on the screen.
Okay, so Ahmed, when you're sharing your screen, please share your entire screen, not your application window, and your entire screen. There are two options there.
Okay.
Okay, well, Ahmed is sharing his screen. Let me just go back to the slides. So if the technology doesn't work, the backup plan will be, oh, you can see, good. I think I can see Ahmed's screen. Excellent.
Okay. So if you can see my screen right now, I'm displaying the dirty data that David showed us initially, and we identified the lapses in this data in line with the 7 golden rules of data, right? We're supposed to have only 1 row of headings, and we currently have 3 rows of headings. At the same time, we are meant to have every unique field should have its own unique column. But right now, what this data seems to look like is like it has been switched up in such a way that what we were meant to have in columns, we now have in rows. For example, if you look at row 1, it's for stores, but we're meant to have this in a single column and not on rows. While on row 2, you have line of business. So the first thing that you would want to do with this kind of data is to switch the data to have your rows on your columns and your columns on your rows. So I'm just going to copy a little bit of this. I'm not going to copy everything that we have here. So I'll just copy a little bit of this down. I copy this and I open a new workbook, right? Can you see my new workbook now? So I open a new workbook and I paste special values of this data and transpose, right? The shortcut to paste special values and transpose is Alt-E, Alt-ESV, E for transpose, okay? Right? So once I do that, you can see that in the first column, I now have stores. In the second column, I have line of business. In the third column, I have model. Whereas across all the other columns are my dates, right? So across the other columns, I have my dates. So the first thing that needs to be done is to the empty cells. We shouldn't have any empty cells here because at the end of the day, I'm going to be using a pivot to bring all my dates into a single column, okay? So to do that, I'll highlight the first column, highlight everything I have on the first column up to the end, and I do go to special. You can do that by using Ctrl G or F5 on your keyboard. So when you press the F5 key or Ctrl G, it opens the Go to Special dialog box. I click on Special Blanks. I want to select all the blank cells that I have here. Then I tap in a formula that says this cell is equals to whatever is at the top of it, right? And I say Control Enter to fill all the spaces. So now I have filled up every empty space with whatever you have at the top. So I'm going to do the same thing for line of business. Highlight everything in line of business. F5, select special, blanks, and I say equals to whatever is at the top, then Control Enter, right? Then I'll also have to fill up all of the spaces that we have here. In all of these date fields that we have here, they probably have no sales. So I'm going to fill that up with zeros. So I'll highlight all the data, go to special, select the, and I type in 0 to fill in all the blank spaces with zeros, then Control Enter. Then I can easily plot these in pivot tables so I can bring in my dates in a single column, right? So I click on the Insert tab, insert a pivot table on a new worksheet. Then I can bring in my store, line of business, model. Let me make this a little bit nicer. I go to my Designs tab. I don't want to see subtotals. I don't want to see grand totals, and then my report layout should be in tabular form and repeat all item labels, right? Okay. So now this is the tedious part in the Excel. I have to click in all the dates one after the other. This is extremely tedious. I might probably have over 100 dates to tick, and that is even considering the fact that I didn't bring in all the data points. So I'm just going to tick a bit of it and show you how you move in these date fields into a single column. So when I click on a date, it's going in to store the values. So I'm going to pick these values that I have here and put it under my rows, right? So once I put it under the rows, I now have my dates in a single column. But you note that I can't the number of data that we have, right? So you can quickly do a copy of this somewhere else, do a copy of this somewhere else, and paste special. Then you can name your headers properly. To remove the greater than sign in line of business, remove the greater than sign. You do this and it's so the date, okay, and this are sales amounts. Then you can just do find and replace to remove. You can see because of the pivots, it's coming up a sum of values. So you can highlight everything you have here and do Control H on your keyboard. Control H is a short to find and replace. So I'm looking for sum of, and I'm replacing with what? I'm replacing with nothing. Then I click Replace All. Okay. So now I have my data clean using Excel steps. But mind you, this is not all the data. This is not even up to 10% we have, right? So having done this in Excel, the next thing we are going to be showing you is how to do this in a more efficient way using Power Query.
Excellent. So Ahmed, I hope you're still there.
Yeah.
So this is really, really cool. Thank you very much for this demo. I mean, it's very revealing. So many Excel tricks you've shown everybody here. Everybody, you're free to comment on the chat. Just type stuff on the chat as you go along. So now Ahmed is going to demo how to do this on Power Query, right?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So what I'll do is, if you don't mind, Ahmed, let me quickly jump to the slide and then we'll jump back to
my screen. Okay.
Yeah, I can see your screen. So I'm going to jump back to the slides temporarily for everybody. Now, as we said, these are 6 steps. We're following 6 steps for how to clean this, using Power Query to clean and automate this very tedious process that Ahmed showed you. Ahmed has high Excel skills, so he was able to do even that cleaning up pretty quickly, but only did it on a fraction of the data. Now we have 6 steps. If you remember step 1, guys, you can see, I hope you can see the slides. You see that assess your data according to the 7 golden rules. We talked about that. That's step 1. Step 2 is create a plan for cleaning up in Excel. And that's exactly what Ahmed did. He even showed you how to clean it up in Excel. So that was his plan. So step 3, which Ahmed is going to start now, is import data to Power Query. Import data to Power Query. So what I'll do is I'm going to give you all the steps, and then Ahmed is going to go through them. So your step 3 is import data to Power Query. We say Power Query is the revolution in Excel. Then you have clean data with Power Query. That's the next step, step 4, clean data Power Query. So Ahmed can mute it. Okay, I clean the Power Query, fast and efficient. Then step 5 is clean data, close and load. So clean your cleaned data now that you've cleaned, you need to close and load it. And then you now get to step 6, which is the last step, which is using pivot tables to create your reports. So I'll get back to Ahmed to continue the demo.
Okay.
So you can share your screen again, Ahmed. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, so let me know if you can see my screen right now.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
If you can see my screen, what I have opened at the moment is a blank Excel workbook. So I'm going to be bringing in the data using Power Query. By the way, I'm using Excel 2016 on Office 365. So David has already shown us where Power Query is on Excel 2016, is on the Data tab. So if I click on the Data tab, Get and Transform Data Group, I select Get Data from File, and I'm picking from an Excel workbook. Okay, the Get to Data, I select the data and I click Import. So I'm bringing in data with Power Query. Okay, so the first window that comes up is going to show you everything that you have in that workbook. Remember, I selected to bring in data from workbook, right? But the one I'm interested in right now is the dirty data. So I select the dirty data, then I click on Edit. I'm editing this data to clean it up and make it ready for creating reports in line with the 7 golden rules that we have mentioned earlier. Okay, it's loading up. Okay, so what Power Query does for you is to record all the steps of every activity that you carry out with Power Query. For example, the only thing I've done right now is to import the data. So if you look to the right hand side of my screen, you will see these applied steps. So you can see the 3 steps that have been applied. So you see the 3 steps that have been applied for everything I've done so far. Source, this is telling you where I pulled the data from. Then there is a navigation where I went to click on edit, and then Power Query has done some kind of data type checks for me automatically, right? So if you remember very well, the first thing that we did in the Excel rows to the, we're going to do the same thing in Power Query. Excel goes to columns, and column do was to copy and paste special values. Now, the beauty of Power Query is things that you are going to be doing just has to do with click of buttons. So to do that switch here in Power Query, I'll just click tab and I select transpose. So once I do that, Power Query moves my rows to columns and my columns into. So if you can see on column 1, I have stores. On column 2, I have line of business. Column 3, I have model. And then in the other column, I have my dates. Right now, something you need to do query is to promote the headers. So if you can see, I have for headers is column 1, column 2, column 3. But you will note that what I need to have for headers is stores, line of business, model, and probably my dates. So to do that, I'll just click on this button, use first row as header. Okay. Can you hear me? Let me know if I can see some people are complaining about the connection. Let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you, Ahmed. It was just breaking,
Okay.
so just continue.
Okay.
It's okay.
Okay. So I've promoted, and the next step that we carried out in the Excel is to fill down the empty cells, right? So we are going to do the same thing here in Power Query. At the time I was doing this in Excel, I had to write some formulas in Excel for the stores column. Then I went ahead to do the same thing for line of business column. But here in Power, select both columns at the same time, right? Then I right click on this and I select fill down. Fill down is going to achieve the same results as what I did in Excel with go to special. So it's going to fill down all the nulls that you can see on the screen right now. It will fill the null with whatever is at the top. So I select fill down. Okay. So once it has filled down everything that is having null, the next thing I'm going to do is to transpose my dates and have them on a single column. Now, there are two ways to do that. One way is to highlight all the dates from the beginning to the end, right-click, and select on pivot columns, right? That is one way to do it. The other way to do it is to right-click the columns that I want to leave the way it is and select on pivot other columns. But I'm going to be using this first option since I've already selected my dates. So I select on pivot columns. Now I have all my dates in a single column, amount in a single column. So this is looking good, but I need headers look right, just like so. I sign in line of business stores and I remove from model. Then I can rename this field to and call this right. Call it, then I need to transform that all my data are appearing data type. Store line of business and model is currently set as any. So I need to make sure that these are text because they are really text. So I select text for them. And then I need to select for my dates. It's a date data type. And then for the, I'm going to make this a decimal number. So now that we have cleaned up, the next step we are meant to have is and load the data. So David.
Yeah, hello. So the next step is close and load the data, right? Which is on the slides. So I'll just remind people of the slides later after I finish the demo. So you've done the next step is close and load. So you can go ahead.
Okay, so to close and load, you have to come to the. So when you get to the home tab, you see this button right here, close, and a little arrow here. You see that for close and load. The first one is close and load. This is just going to load it table, while the second option gives you a lot of varieties in like to load the data option, and I would like to load it as a pivot table report. So I select pivot table reports and OK. So my data has been loaded into a pivot table report. And I can make a quick report right now.
Excellent. So we can see it loading 300 and 500,000, 618, 700,000. How many thousands of records do you have in this? And can I ask, as in, how is the maximum number of records you can use? I can see 1.2 million is what you've loaded.
Yes.
But Excel, I think Excel only has 1,048,576 rows. How is that possible? How did you do 1.2 million?
Yeah, because if I had loaded this data into Excel directly, there is no way Excel would have been able to take it, because Excel has a limited number of rows, which is 1,048,000, which is the reason why I had to select to load this into a pivot table so I can make reports on all the data points that I have. So Power Query has the ability to take in millions of rows of data, so much more than Excel can do.
Excellent. So what you're saying is best practice is you connect to your data. So once Power Query does its job, it just transfers it as a connection to a pivot table, right? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Excellent. So we don't need to bring our data into Excel.
Yes.
Okay,
and another thing that
thank you.
Power Query actually does for you is, right now we've only used the Excel data source. So with Power Query, you can actually connect to over 80 data sources at the same time. So you can bring in data from Excel, still go into another data source, bring in data, create some connections, and make some beautiful reports.
Excellent. So I'll just give you a time check. We've really overshot our time slot, but I would like you to continue. And then obviously you're going to do the next step. And then we'll now show probably in 5 minutes. The nice thing is I know it take only 5 minutes to show how to do this in Power BI desktop, isn't it?
Yes.
This whole thing you did, you're going to leverage off what you did just to show that the technologies are the same. So thanks a lot, and I'll just let you continue.
Okay, so having done this, I can create some quick reports in Power Pivot. Let me just quickly create a report for line of business and the sales amounts. So create some reports with line of business and sales amounts. Then let me put dates on columns. Right, and now you have this report for line of business for each year from 2010 to 2013 in Excel, quickly using data from 1,200,000 rows. So I think, David, let's just quickly, because of the time, go ahead to show this in Power BI.
All right, super. So I'll just jump straight back to the slides and give you guys the steps that we follow for, let me jump back to the slide, Power BI up. I don't know if you have that already, Ahmed, and then we can start the Power BI. So let me quickly recap to you guys the steps that Ahmed just followed. Let me just recap for you. The steps Ahmed followed were this. So six steps to cut hours of work to minutes using Power Query in Excel. That Ahmed showed us was assess your data according to the 7 golden rules. Step 2, create a plan, which you did in Excel. Step 3 was import data into Power Query. Step 4 is clean data with Power Query. Do all the steps that Ahmed did were the steps for cleaning data. Step 5 is close and load, and what Ahmed did was close and load to just created a connection. He closed and created a connection so that you don't need to bring all that data into Excel. It goes straight to pivot table or pivot table. Then step 6 was create reports, which you already did. Now we're going to go to the steps, which is the 6 steps for cutting hours of work to minutes using Power BI desktop. So we're going to use Power BI. We used Excel, now we're using Power BI. And I'll just go through the steps for you, and Ahmed will quickly show us the demo. The step 1 is the query editor in Power BI is Power Query in Excel. You need to understand that query editor is exactly the same thing as Power Query. They're both the same app in 2 different engines. Then step 2 is import data to Power BI. Now, import data to Power BI is the same as importing data to Power Query. And then step 3 is reuse M code in Power BI. So what Ahmed did is had various steps, and those steps that he did in Excel was generating a code. He will show us where that code resides, and you can easily just use that code because it's the same steps you follow in Power BI desktop. Then step 4 is add columns to expand analysis. Ahmed will let us know what he means by that. And step 5 is close and apply. It was close and load in Excel. This one is close and apply. Exactly the same thing. And then step 6 is obviously create some beautiful visualizations. This is where it is different. Power BI desktop's visualizations are super excellent and beautiful and so easy to create. Far more beautiful and easy to use than Excel. So Excel and Power BI work perfectly together. And with this demo, we see that it's really the same app, the same thing, but it just has a different engine. So thanks, Ahmed is going to take us through in very quick 5 minutes how to now do exactly what he did in Excel. And he will now do that same thing in Power BI desktop. So over to you, Ahmed. You can share your screen.
Okay, so I'm jumping straight to Power BI right now. But before I do that, I will need to copy the codes I created in Excel Power Query. I need to copy the codes. So to do that, let me just come to my query, select edit. So it opens a query window for me. So once this query window is opened up, if you click on this view tab and advanced editor, this is where all the steps and all the M formulas have been recorded. So if I click on this advanced editor, I have all the formulas for every step I have taken from the beginning right up to the end. So I can just copy this. So I'll copy this.
Is there a shortcut for highlighting?
Yeah, so if you just any of these, place your cursor at the beginning and
I know the Control A works in Excel. Does it work here too? Does Control A work here as well?
Control A, yeah, Control A works here as well.
Oh, nice.
Control A works to copy all the data. So I do Control C. I close this window, and of course, I close this query window as well. So I'm going now into Power BI. So let me know if you can see my Power BI screen. Can you see my Power BI screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the same thing that we have in Excel is also available in Power BI. So if I click on the Home tab, you can see the same Get Data and the different data sources that you can actually bring in data from. But since we've already shown that step in Excel, I'm not going to be using that approach at the moment. So I'm just jumping on straight to reusing the codes, which is step 3. I'm going to click on View. Sorry, I'm going to click on View, right? On Home tab, Get Data, and I select Blank Query because I'm creating a blank query right now. I already have the code. So if I select Blank Query, it gives me that same window, right? Can you see this? Can you see this window?
Yes,
of my
you can see the window. Looks like Power Query.
Yeah, so when I click on View and Advanced Editor, I can place in the codes I copied from Excel. So I'll just override what I have here. and Control V the code from Excel and select Done. So you can see it loading up.
So what's Power Query doing right now?
So Power Query has copied and transformed all the steps from Excel into Power BI. The same steps and the same data, right? So I have my data cleaned up.
If I ask a question, are you saying that we can take this code and send it to someone by email, so all the cleanup that we did, the person can just dump it and it will work?
Yes, it's going to work. It's going to work
perfectly
the same way if you send it to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
But the person might just need to come to the first step here and change the source. So that person needs to have the same data on their own system, and they will have to change the source from here to what they have.
So they go back to step 1, as you just did. Can you just quickly show us how that is done? And then,
so you go back to step 1.
Mm-hmm.
When you go back to step 1, you can see this star symbol by this side. So you click on this star symbol. It enables you to open up this browse window. So you can just click what you have in your own code and browse to the location of the data on your system.
So can I just add to everybody, best practice will be, since you're working in a corporate environment, the data that you're cleaning up should be in a shared folder. If it's in a shared folder in your office, that means the path will be the same. The path, once the path is the same for your source, it will work perfectly. If the path is not the same, you just do what Ahmed said, you go to source, click, and change the path. Immediately you change the path, the whole query will update itself. So perfect. Thank you, Ahmed. You can continue.
Okay. So
sorry, you stopped that. So the name, yeah, all right.
So right now, the next step, according to our steps, is to add additional data. So if you look at my current data, you see that I have store, line of business, model, but I have a separate table in my Excel that maps all the stores into locations. We have states, we have regions. So let's assume I would like to bring in the regions for each of these stores into this same window. So I go back to my home tab, I select new source, Excel. I'm picking it from an Excel. Then I can navigate to the same place I have my data, select Excel, open, and this time around, I'm going to be picking the store data. So I'm picking store data, right? So I select the store data, click OK. Then, if you remember quite well, I'll have to promote my headers. I can't have column 1, column 2 as headers, right? So I can click on this small first row as headers. So now I have my store data pulled into Power BI, and I also have my sales data. So I can just rename this sales data. The next thing I want to do is to bring in the region into this my sales data. If you are in Excel, you would have done VLOOKUP to bring in this. So that is also possible here in Power BI. And what you use to do that is the merge queries. You can see this merge query under this group called combine. So if I select merge queries and I select the first option, so it's going to open up this window for me and say select a table and matching column. So the first table that is selected is the sales data table. Then I'll click the store data, and then the matching columns for each of these is the store. So I select the store here under my sales data and select the store under my store data. Then I click OK. So once that is done, it's going to add an additional column for me, but this column is stored in a table. So I'll need to open up this table with these 2 double arrows that you have at this edge. I'll select this table, and what I want to pick from here is the region. I only want the region. If I wanted the state, I will click state and region. So I'm only picking the region for now. So I select the region and OK. So as you can see, I now have regions on my data. So that step has covered for bringing in additional data. And the next step should be close and apply. So if you look under the home tab, you will see this close and apply button. So I'm just going to click that, close and apply. And my query changes are being applied for the two tables.
So while we wait, thanks a lot for that. So this is exactly what Power Query did in Excel, isn't it?
Okay, so this is exactly the same thing Power Query did in Excel. And we've now repeated the same thing in Power BI. So if you look to the right, you have my two tables. Power BI, by the way, has three views. You have the report view, you have the data view, and then you have the relationships view. So if I go to my data view, I can actually see the data in Power BI. And according to our steps, we should be doing is to create reports, right? So I'm going to be introducing you to this Q&A feature in Power BI. The Q&A feature allows you to query your data with natural query language. Power BI, by the way, is supposed to be a self-service business intelligence tool, and this is just the ideal example that shows you that Power BI is really self-service. So anybody can query any data with Power BI without writing any formulas at all. So if I double click on this canvas, it's going to bring a window for me to ask a question. So let me say I want to tell Power BI to show sales amount. Show me sales amount by region. As you can see, Power BI has already created this report for me in seconds. Now I have my sales amounts by region, and that is my first report. I can go ahead and do a lot more reports with this. Let's see, I would like to create a slicer for dates, for example. I will double click on this and just type in dates and enter. So Power BI has created dates for me, but it has brought it out as a table. So I can just quickly in this visualizations pane, make this a slicer. All right, so now I have a date slicers. If I want to create another report, let's say I would like to create a report for sales amounts by months or sales amounts by location. So let's say sales amount by location as a column chart. Okay, I don't have any location, so let me just say by store. I think I have stores in my data. Okay, so you can actually still tell your query the type of charts that you would like to be displayed in your query. Right, so I've told Power BI to create this locations report by a column chart. So if you can tell us which other reports would you like to see, which other reports would you like to see based on this data that I have here?
Okay, so anybody has any report they would like to see, just type it in. So Olawale has typed a map. I've typed in, can we see line of business as a tree map? So maybe we can do line of business as a tree map and then just do a map visual as well. A map, yeah. Is it called line of business? Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
so that's line of
line.
business, and it's sales as well, isn't it? Sales.
Sales amount.
Oh, sales amount. So is that the process? So you have to, it's like a language you're speaking, but it's really English, isn't it? Sales amount by line of business as a tree map. Excellent. Looks really good. And then Joshua, no, who asked? Oh, yeah, nice. Austin is asking, can we use a tooltip? I don't know, Ahmed, if you have the latest version of Power BI Desktop. That one just came out recently, but I think let's quickly do a map. Ojo wants to do a map, so maybe we can do a map to wrap this up.
Doing a map will actually require you to have a data that has to do with location. Like
Excellent.
if I had brought in data for states, I would have been able to create a map data. But right now, all I have is region and store. I don't have states. Okay. In fact, if I had states and I tell Power BI to give me a report by state, it will bring it up as a map.
By default, to just give you a map.
Yes.
Interesting. So if, for example, you have this situation, how quickly would you be able to, in real life, bring in state data?
Okay, to bring in state data, you just have to follow the other step. So if I come to my fields pane here and I do edit query, you remember this step of merged queries. Remember the step of merged queries? So,
yes. Do you have state under store, for example? The store data.
Yes, I have states. Yes,
so can you create a relationship for us in the Power data model? So will that work?
Okay, let's try that.
So I know this is not what we're covering in the topic. So what Ahmed is doing is now creating a connection. It's almost like a VLOOKUP of sales data is now looking up store data and connecting. So once that relationship has been created, which he just did simply with the relationship tool dialog, but connecting store data there, he will now have access to state data. So now if he goes to the visual, he should be able to now do the state.
Okay, so the first thing you actually want to do when you are creating a report that has to do with states is to make sure that you have your states properly mapped in Power BI as a location data. So if I come to my store data and I click on these states, I click on that column states, I go to modeling, and under data category, you can see it is currently uncategorized. So I'll have to select this and select state or province. So I'm mapping this data as a state or province data category, right? So if I go back to my visualization page and I say show sales amount.
So let me just recap. To use the quick language or Q&A, you double click inside the canvas, a blank place in the canvas. For those that didn't know, all right.
So once I do that, as you can see, by states, as you can see, the Q&A has automatically brought this up as a map without me having to state that it is a map. And you can see for each state, So I'm currently selecting Sokoto at the moment, and you can see the sales amount for Sokoto. By the way, these are displayed as bubbles. So the bigger the bubble, the higher the sales amounts. So from this data, we probably have Ekiti with the highest sales amounts.
This is so good. This is really, really good. So, excellent. Can we also, I find it that when it comes to maps, I always prefer the field map. Can you show how we can quickly convert to the field map if you click it?
Okay, so you click on the particular visual and you change what you have to a field map. In this visualizations pane, you have all the different kinds of visuals that you can have, plus more if you need to import. So I'm just changing this from an ordinary map into a field map. Okay.
And if you could check the also, there's also the ability to change the format to anything you like. This is the default formats. So there's something called diverge under the format for a map, and maybe you could quickly show that, and then we can close. And then if you show the cross filtering, as in everything works, and then we close. So if you can click on the map, is that the possibility of going to the formatting pane to the right and show cross filtering? So I mean, show or diverge. I think the data colors, if I'm right, if we go to the data colors, there's supposed to be something, data colors at the top. There should be something called diverging, and then you can change minimum to red and maximum to minimum to red. So, and then you will now see some diverging colors. Maybe the middle is yellow. Maybe the middle is yellow. You know how red, yellow, green. Although it's not good to have too much color, but so you can see how that looks. Excellent. So anyway, guys, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this webinar. If you could click Northeast, maybe you could cross filter for us a bit. Maybe sales amount by region. If you click any bar there, so we can see that it affects everything, and you can see it's zooming into northeast of Nigeria, and you can see all the maps and every single map here. Everything is updated, and the dates themselves also can be changed. Since you have a slicer, you can drag your slicer and then also change the dates and see how we are doing in different dates, and everything just works. Wow, super. Thank you very much for this demo, Ahmed. Thank you very, very much. I hope I did this. And thanks a lot to Ahmed for this. Now, what I would like everyone to do is all these skills, all this stuff that Ahmed has shown is available on our e-learning platform. So our e-learning platform, if you want to learn more, there's quite a lot of free stuff. We have an excellent free Excel course on our e-learning platform. So what I'll share with you guys is a quick offer. So the quick offer here, if you see it, I've now published the quick offer. I'll leave it on, it's published, and everybody can click on it and choose to, you get a 20% discount if you use the coupon to become a master in report automation in Excel. So you will learn all the tricks about report automation in Excel. Very soon, we're going to have this exact same course for Power BI, where all these tricks and skills that Ahmed is showing, we'll put it in a course. So I don't know if anyone can see that offer to the right. You can just click on it and go to our website, which is officetraininghub.com, and there you'll be able to choose and see all the other things we offer, all the other courses that we have available on Office Training Hub. So thank you very much, Ahmed. This has been extremely enlightening, and we're really, really glad that you was this very interesting demo. Thank you very much, Ahmed.
You're welcome, baby.
Okay, so I'll share my screen with everybody, and so that you can see our Office Training Hub, and of course the offer is still there. Anybody have any last say one or two things before we close? We extended this webinar a bit so that we can also we're going to load this on our YouTube channel, so everybody will be able to see this on our YouTube channel. So this is our e-learning platform, officetraininghub.com, where we have all the courses. You can see various courses currently. Of course, the one I'm showing you right now, Report Automation in Modern Excel, is $70. You have your discounts. And then you also have various other courses. And one very important course we have is Advanced Financial Modeler. So there's something else I would like to share for you Excel guys. There is a new certification from Financial Modeling Institute. I will just show you that now. So the new certification is called, the certification is Advanced Financial Modeler. It's a level 1 certification for Advanced Financial Modeler. There's level 2, which is Chartered Financial Modeler, and level 3, which is Master Financial Modeler. And anyone interested in getting in the exams are going to hold on in April 28th, I think, April, if I'm not mistaken. So for people that are interested in doing this exam, send us an email and we'll be able to give you a very excellent deal to get you ready for the financial modeler exam. And you become one of the first advanced financial modelers in Nigeria. So the exam is now available in Nigeria starting in April. And so just send us a chat if you're interested and we'll send you details. So thanks a lot. Click on the offer, and I'm really glad to have had you guys for this dBrown Consulting Power BI and Excel webinar, and we'll see you next month. For those that are joining us for the financial modeling webinar, that's starting in a few minutes, and we'll see you there. And thank you very much, everyone, and see you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Ahmed. So I'll hang around for a few minutes if you have any questions, but we're done with the webinar for this month.
Aloha e ka ala ai ka amaama ai ka ala ai ka lavalo ai ka ho'omoemoe